Here in Washington, we're known for our apples, and Seattle Cider Company is a truly local cidery based in SoDo. Seattle cider is made from fresh-pressed Washington apples, never from concentrate, and there's a new vivid light cider line with crisp flavors like tart apple, juicy pear, bright cherry, fresh peach, wild blueberry, and ripe plum. Those all sound really good. Find Seattle Cider on the web at seattlecidercompany.com to check out the cider lineup, find where Seattle Cider is sold, and view upcoming taproom events. Search for local bars, restaurants, and grocery stores that sell Seattle cider using the Cider Finder on their website. CityCast Seattle is made possible by AT&T. America's first network is also its fastest and most reliable. Based on RootMetrics' United States Root Score Report, 1H 2025. Tested with best commercially available smartphones on 3 national mobile networks across all available network types. Your experiences may vary. RootMetrics rankings are not an endorsement of AT&T. When you compare, there's no comparison. AT&T. This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about. Today on CityCast Seattle, cyclist safety after a community tragedy, our choices for the biggest stories of the year, and could driver's ed make Seattleites better drivers? Here to discuss, we have Brett Hamil, writer, performer, and the cartoonist behind the weekly series Doom Loop. Welcome to the show, Brett.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan Packer, contributing editor at The Urbanist and transportation advocate. Ryan, thanks for coming back to the show.
Glad to be here.
Let's start with the latest flood updates. So here is what we currently know. A levee on the Green River was at risk of failure yesterday, but authorities announced that it is under control. But now a levee on the White River has failed. And so there is yet another flash flood warning that has been issued. Lummi Nation declared a state of emergency on the 14th, and the Snoqualmie tribe declared a state of emergency on December 10th, as well as the Nooksack Indian tribe on the 11th. Authorities also have reported the first death associated with the storm. On Tuesday, a 33-year-old tried to drive through a flooded roadway in Snohomish. Let's hope that's the last. Extreme winds closed the floating Hood Canal Bridge on Monday afternoon. It opened again pretty soon after, but of course always has the potential to close again with high winds. We have links to resources in our newsletter and on our website, seattle.citycast.fm, if you want to stay up to date on the latest flood news. So also in the news, over the weekend, a driver killed a cyclist on Beacon and Stevens. Their name was Allie, and they were an avid cyclist. Their friends and other members of the bike community held a vigil on Sunday night. And Ryan, I know you were there. Ryan, I would love to know, what did people have to say about who Allie was?
Yeah, it was really incredible to see community come together so quickly in the wake of the tragedy early Sunday morning. Just after midnight is when Allie was killed by the driver who fled the scene and still hasn't been found. The organizers of the vigil told me that it just happened organically on social media. Allie was very well known in the cycling community, and it just kind of felt like a natural thing to do to gather, but also protest and shut down the street for a little bit. Ultimately, it was planned to go up till midnight that night, but SPD kind of took over and forced it to conclude early. But it was incredible. There were people who never met Allie, but were just there to show solidarity, and then also friends of Allie who described Allie as a very strong-willed, distinctive person with their own sense of personality and great sense of humor.
It's just always such a tragedy when someone is killed by a car, especially in this situation with a hit and run. So I know Mayor-elect Katie Wilson released a statement about this. A lot of our community leaders have spoken up about this, saying we can save lives through better street design. And I mean, this is, to the best of the bike community's knowledge, the first cyclist death in a couple years. But of course, that doesn't include the many pedestrians who have been hit by cars. What does all this say about how we're doing on Vision Zero?
it says that we're treading water at best, not really making very much progress. Last year was the deadliest year on Seattle roads in almost 2 decades, with 33 people killed in different modes. It's true that this was the first cyclist death since a cyclist was killed in West Seattle in late 2023, but we've already had 16 people killed while walking just this year alone. And so there's much work to be done when it comes to both road design, but also overall frameworks of how we allow people to use our roadways when it comes to the design of cars, the design of driver's license infrastructure, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later today. And kind of all these factors are really leading to the fact that we're really not able to make progress on this intractable issue.
Brett, I'm curious to hear from you. Like, what has your experience been like locomoting about town?
As a bicyclist, abysmal across the board. Lake Washington Boulevard would probably be my preferred place to go on a nice bike ride. And of course, as we've seen there, it's incredibly dangerous to bicyclists. I took my son from near where we live in Mount Baker to Seward Park, and we decided to bike. And I completed that ride telling myself that the only way I do that again is with a lead pipe in my hand. I mean, it's just like the drivers are so needlessly aggressive on this beautiful winding road over some like iconic scenery. I'm probably one of a very large group of people that can't make bicycling my main mode of transport for that reason.
I've often thought about getting like pool noodles, or I've seen actually some people put extensions off of their handlebars to scratch cars that get too close to them. While I like that idea, I feel like the chances of that either impaling me or throwing me off balance if it actually connects with something feels like equally hazardous, but I get the idea behind it because, yeah, as a cyclist also, I feel like there are a lot of close passes, just a lot of distracted driving. When I'm on light rail and I'm looking down into cars passing, there's a disturbing number of people who are texting while driving. I mean, Brett, you mentioned Lake Washington Boulevard. I do feel like that is one road that a lot of folks have been talking about. Like, how do we change the infrastructure there to make it more friendly to cyclists and pedestrians? Ryan, I'm curious to hear about this area where Allie was hit and killed. What could be changed here in particular? I know I saw some analysis of this online of what the street design looks like and how it might be easier to keep people safe if we change the road design.
Yeah, it's important to note this was recently, this area got a pretty big redesign as part of a north-south bike route through Beacon Hill, which was advanced, 2019. So a very long time in the works, which installed separated bike lanes with some concrete barriers between the bike lane and the car lanes in this area. On-street parking was maintained, and there's some flashing beacons that pedestrians hit to be able to cross the street and alert drivers to the fact that they are trying to cross. It's an awkward intersection.
The please don't kill me light.
Yes, the please don't kill me light, which a lot of people think is like a permission slip that people walking have to hit. And, I think there's definitely things that could be improved in terms of the intersection visibility, making sure that drivers can clearly see people from further away. It's a little bit of a curve there. There's parked cars, like I mentioned. Prioritizing the on-street parking was kind of a big part of the redesign. But ultimately, I think, I talked to a witness who described what they heard from their home, which was nearby this incident. And they described, the driver accelerating near the library, heading south. Basically, if you can hear that from your house, it's pretty egregious behavior. And then they said that the impact was so loud that they really can't even describe it. It was like a bomb going off, basically. And ultimately, I think there are things we can do to improve the intersection, but I don't know if the driver was going to stop at a 4-way stop, if that would have been there.
Right.
And I think ultimately I go back to the fact that we need repercussions for people who both flee the scene after crashes, but also are egregiously hostile, dangerous drivers.
Well, our condolences to Allie's family and friends, and let us hope that we can create a safer environment for cyclists all over the city moving forward. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the big stories of the year. I've been making a point of getting out and visiting or revisiting spots that I don't go to every day in town. So this weekend, a friend and I did a little downtown outing, like we got lunch in Pioneer Square, and then we made our way to the Seattle Art Museum, one of Sam's 3 locations. Sam's collection is wonderfully curated. I've always appreciated how much care they've put into giving museum goers context about artists and how their work represents a moment in history. And right now they've got this special exhibit that I feel like really exemplifies that. It's called Farm to Table, and it explores the role of French Impressionist art in capturing the late 1800s culinary scene in France. There were pieces by well-known artists like Monet and Renoir, but the pieces that spoke to me the most were by some lesser-known artists that depicted like farming, still lifes of food spreads, or tables of people eating. And it got me thinking about how what we eat, with whom we dine, and where that food comes from is always a reflection of wealth, class, and the current moment. Anyway, I highly recommend going to check it out. You can learn more about the exhibit and get tickets at visitsam.org/farm. Hey Liam, what are you doing for New Year's?
Hi, Jane. I haven't narrowed it down yet, but I'm thinking a nice dinner, but I need some activity to occupy my rambunctious children.
Ooh, okay, I have just the thing for you. I feel like I'm so bad about making plans in advance, and so I just end up like paying a ridiculous amount of money to get into a bar.
Yes.
But I heard that Argosy is doing New Year's Eve cruises, and they have one that is an all-ages fireworks cruise. It leaves from either the waterfront downtown or South Lake Union. And they also, I guess if you want to leave your kids at home, there's a 21 plus party cruise.
Sign me up for that one. That sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun way to ring in the new year, right?
It does.
All right, well, there are limited seats for New Year's Eve sailings, so you can book on argosycruises.com if you want to firm up your plans before December 30th. All right, we are getting into the last couple weeks of the year here and doing a lot of 2025 reflections. So I want to know from each of you, what do you think were the biggest and most important news stories of the year? Like, what was the best story of the year and what was the worst story of the year? Brett, I'm going to start with you. What do you think was the, let's say, best story of the year?
Best story of the year has to be the victory of Katie Wilson over Bruce Harrell. Just an amazing underdog victory. She was outspent by about $1 million. Before she entered the race, everyone assumed that Bruce would coast to re-election easily. And as evidenced by the many progressive politicians that initially just endorsed him without a second thought, and then had to go ahead and revisit that decision when a credible challenger did emerge. So just the fact, this is the first time in 12 years that we've had a mayor that was not backed by the business community, by the Chamber of Commerce, by the major corporate interests. You have to look all the way back to Mike McGinn to find a mayor that is this unbought. That's got to be the big story of the year.
What do you think, Ryan? Is that the biggest story of the year or the best story of the year? Or do you have a different best story?
No, I would agree, but I would go broader. I think the victory for progressives all across the region is the best story of the year. Full progressive sweep on the Burien City Council, pushing back on anti-homelessness policies that had been enacted in previous years. The full rejection of big money in the Woodinville City Council, with the one single funder who had tried to flip that council seats in the very anti-growth direction. Rejection of anti-growth housing growth candidates in Kirkland and Redmond, 2 council members who opposed the siting of a permanent supportive housing facility to get people off the streets, were both sent packing by the voters. And the victory in Bellevue of Noreen Breyer, who won her race against a 9-term Republican-leaning council member, Conrad Lee.
So are we going to see in the cities outside of Seattle a more progressive move as well? I guess I'll be curious to see that in coming years.
I think we already have.
Always rooting for Burien. Come on, Burien, find your heart again. You don't have to be this way.
Well, I mean, there's got to be a place for everyone, right? What about the worst story of the year? Let's go in reverse order. Ryan, what do you think is the worst story of the year?
I mean, I think the worst story of the year has to be the huge slate of terrible impacting policies that the Trump administration has enacted in terms of disappearing people, taking away their civil liberties. In my area of expertise, I would kind of go to the fact that we've spent so much time this year having to push back on progress that we thought we had made a long time ago about funding and trying to get this taken off the board, and just spending so much time battling things that are so counterproductive to our own values and the plans that we've all kind of signed on to. And it's been almost a wasted year in that regard. And it's been really frustrating to see all that progress lost.
Yeah. Coming from the science world, just seeing how many federal employees are just sitting on their hands waiting to be fired, fighting their furloughs and their firings. It just feels like people have been spinning their wheels and not making much progress. And that time could have been much better used on many more important things. Brett, what do you think? Is that the worst story? Do you have a worse story?
For starters, the way that AI is producing this bubble that's causing layoffs in the tech sector in our region.
Right. Amazon just laid off some more people yesterday
Amazon,
as well.
Microsoft, they're all throwing in all their chips on this huge growth bubble that is I've already harped on this before on the show, but is bound to burst. It has all the hallmarks of a subprime meltdown on steroids. So there's that, it directly impacting us. There is some of the maneuverings in Olympia where we bring a new progressive, in quotes, governor into office, and he starts out by saying there's not going to be any new taxes. He's not going to search for any new progressive revenue sources, and he's going to do a oops, all cuts budget. So that is disturbing, and you're starting to see people revolt in the state house, in the state legislature, that are saying, no, we need taxes. If we have to override Bob Ferguson somehow, we might. And then let's go ahead and couple that with the third interlocking crisis of climate. So this was the year we saw the full suite of climate disasters, which we're currently in now. So with the flooding. I moved here 25 years ago, and I remember thinking, as one of the reasons why I moved here, other than the cool arts and cultural musical scene, it'll be a good climate oasis in the future. Somewhere off far in the future, I'll be in a place that has lots of fresh water and such. And in the past
There's
2 or 3 years,
a lot of fresh water.
We do have the water thing going, but in the past few years with the wildfires and now the flooding, the mudslides, we got an active volcano. There's a possibility of a tsunami. I'm wondering about the wisdom of this. Maybe I should have just moved near that subterranean base in Colorado.
I think the Great Lakes area is often talked about as the other climate oasis. But I mean, yeah, I think if there's anything that the last few years have taught us is that there is no place that is safe from climate change. The climate changes in such a way that weather gets more extreme, and you are just going to be dealing with extremes all over the place. You all really hit the big depressing things. I'm trying to think of stories from this last year that are the most Seattle stories. Like when you're talking to folks either in town or, friends or family who don't live here, what do you feel like are the most Seattle things that happened?
Well, the Mariners failing to make it to the World Series. And
that is very Seattle.
I got to watch my son's heart be broken by sports for the very first time, because he was very invested in this. This is the first year he's been very invested in the Mariners and seeing them, and having a chance to really go to the big dance. So he was really bummed out. He slumped back when it was over. And I was like, buddy, This is why I don't really get into sports too much.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, bud, but also welcome to the world. You know, this is a
it was
rite of
actually,
passage.
It was a wonderful rite of passage and teaching moment for him.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan? What is the most Seattle story of the year?
I'm going to give it to the fact that we are still struggling to build out our light rail network. We had progress opening to Federal Way and almost getting across I-90, and then we got hit with a $34 billion shortfall with the next set of expansion projects going to West Seattle, Ballard, Everett, and Tacoma. So we just always continue to suffer from the fact that we didn't build out our high-capacity transit network 3 or 4 decades ago.
Would have been so nice to just go back in time and wave a magic wand and have it just be done. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk about driver's ed. This holiday season, give your loved ones something they'll enjoy for years to come. An Aura frame. It's a gorgeous digital photo frame that you can preload with photos and videos. Mine currently has about 300 photos of my dog Cookie. The app is super easy to use, and the image quality really impressed me. Plus, I was super pleased that it only took me a few minutes to set up. And I love that you can invite family and friends to share photos to your frame too. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. I want to know from each of you, how did you learn how to drive? Like, did you all ever do driver's ed?
Yeah, I had to take driver's ed in high school in Rockford, Illinois.
Was it like you met after school for classes, or like how did that work for you?
I think it was on Saturdays I learned to drive, and then I had to take a driver's test with actually a sitting alderman in my city. It was very strange.
Oh,
but he was
that feels like high pressure.
Yeah, that was his job, was being on the city council, but also doing driver's tests.
Oh,
I have an idea. Something Bob Kettle can do to really nip the whole street racing thing out at the bud. He should administer the driver's test. That's what I'm saying.
It's a lot of driver's tests, but I mean, hey, it could work. What about you, Brett? Did you do driver's ed, or how did you learn to drive?
We had driver's ed. I mean, I'm from Florida. It's a very driving state. You can't live without driving in the suburb I came from. So I took driver's ed in a class in high school with the car with the brake pedal on the passenger side in case things get really crazy. And it was during class. I got class credit for it, and they gave me a slip of paper, and I just took that into the DMV and got my license. I never actually had to take like a state sanctioned driver's test.
Oh, just like by going through the class, that was enough?
Yep. I passed the test in the class, essentially, which was held in a giant parking lot in the school with painted off corridors and such.
Nice. Well, damn, I feel like kind of a yahoo. I grew up in Kentucky. They did not require driver's ed. I didn't take driver's ed. I learned, for better or for worse, probably for worse, to drive in a giant parking lot with my dad. In retrospect, there's a lot I didn't learn, but that's okay. I learned it eventually. So before 2002, Washington offered driver's ed in public schools, but then they stopped funding it. And pretty soon, I just learned this, which is why I wanted to talk about this. Driver's ed is now going to be required for anyone under 25. So the legislation that just passed earlier this year requires mandatory driver's ed training to 21. And I think eventually they want to expand it to 25. What do you all think of that? Is that fair?
Well, it is basically closing a loophole that exists right now, which is that if you're 16 or 17, you have to take a class to get your license. But if you just wait until the day you turn 18, you can take a written test. And so the data shows that those kids who wait until they turn 18, they are astronomically more likely to get into a crash, like 70 to 80% higher crash rates. And so we're kind of phasing this in to ensure that. And the wild part about it is actually that those crash rates stay until higher until your 30s, basically. It is extended period of time when you are significantly more likely to be in a crash because you didn't get a driver's ed course. And so this is kind of trying to phase in a closure of that loophole.
That makes sense. I mean, I guess the thing about driver's ed around here, it's a few $100s that you have to pay, right? I know that there's another Senate bill that was being considered to give people vouchers.
Yeah, obviously paying for the class is a big barrier, but ultimately I think you're right. The answer is really the state paying to get the driver's ed back in school. But obviously we have a very intense state budget crisis, particularly around the area of education. We can't even pay to give kids their own free meals when they go to school. So
I could see how this didn't become a priority. I guess I'm also thinking about the bigger picture of having new drivers on the road. And I have noticed just a ton of the bumper stickers that are like, please be patient, like new driver. Why do we have so many of those these days? Like, is it just that I'm noticing them more? Do we know where that's all coming from?
I was assuming that you get a cut on your insurance for younger drivers. That's what I always assumed.
Oh, like the sticker could give you...
The sticker is part of a deal that, helps defray the cost of adding a 16 or 17-year-old driver to your insurance. That was my assumption. I'm not sure.
I don't know
true.
about that. Well, okay, but when you see a please be patient bumper sticker, are you actually more patient? I
am.
You are?
I'm like, go little guy. You got this. You can learn to be a safe driver and not be a problem for society. I'm going to stay off. I'm not going to get all aggro with you. You do what you need to do, and let's push it forward together.
Well, I don't drive, so I mostly just, if I see one of those stickers, I kind of give that driver a wide berth and just like make sure I don't cross right in front of them.
Same. Especially when I'm on a bike, I'm just like, they've got a lot going on. Like, I don't need to add to their stress. I am just going to ride predictably and try and be far away. But I mean, it makes me wonder if it's kind of like the baby on board stickers all over again. I've noticed a lot of good, like, just plays on that theme of bumper sticker. Like, there's a good one that I've seen that is like, please be patient, I am 9 years old, which always makes me do a little double take, or like, don't honk at me, I'll cry.
Maybe we need placards for each car like we have in restaurants where there's a smiley face or a frowny face and you give the driver a rating. And then, we can, if it's the green, like yuck face, just stay way the heck away.
I don't really want to live in a dystopia where you can communicate with other cars, but every once in a while, I think it would be useful. Like, there are times where I'm like, I wish there were an international hand signal for like, I'm so sorry, I fucked up.
Yeah, I'd just be worried that other drivers would downvote you for driving the speed limit. So
I think people would probably primarily use it for downvoting, right? Like, how often? It's kind of like, for the most part, I'm sure as journalists, you all have had this experience as well. People are much more likely to write to you to say that you did something wrong or that they didn't like than like, hey, good job. Like, I like what's going on here.
Yes, that's a good reminder too. If you can, send King County Metro a message about your nice bus driver. They always love to get those.
I feel like I have only run into nice bus drivers. They seem like genuinely nice people and they do a great job. I am always marveling at how they are maneuvering around the city with such skill. And you're right. Maybe I should just write a little note being like, they're doing great.
It's one of those jobs where the default is you're beloved. It's like an ice cream truck driver or something. Like, everyone likes to see you show up. You really got to try hard to screw this one up because generally people are thankful for their bus driver.
Yes, it's true. And I mean, maybe this is the way to skirt around bad drivers, or even having to learn how to drive, as if we didn't have to do it. We could just rely on the professional drivers who do an excellent job maneuvering around the city for us. All right. Well, before I let you all go, listeners, I wanted to give a quick plug. If you are not already following us on Instagram, we're doing a really good giveaway right now. So CityCast Seattle is giving out $1,500 worth of gift cards to 5 winners who will get to enjoy good restaurants every month of 2025. There are places like Little Beast, Pink Door, and Stevie's Famous on the menu. So if this interests you, go check out our post on our Instagram page at CityCast Seattle. Good luck and good eats. All right, that's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. I'm your host, Jane Sihu. Ryan Packer, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And Brett Hamil, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Drive safely, everyone. If you must drive.
If you must drive, especially in this gross weather. All right, listeners, we also would love to hear from you. Send us your news tips, your questions, your hot goss, or honestly, your pictures of your favorite bumper stickers. I am always just taking pictures of my favorite bumper stickers. Send us an email at seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail at 206-880-3931. You can get more local news and events delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to seattle.citycast.fm. And if you're enjoying the podcast, follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Even better, leave us a little review. That helps a lot. All right, until next time, see ya, Seattle.